to listen to the Lap Traffic Podcast.
What is up, Lap Traffic Nation? Welcome, episode 239 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. I am your host, the Professor Brandon Crowd. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. Hey, we are 10 for 12. That isn't all bad considering we still basically have halfway to go in the regular season. With some road courses, we got to assume Elliott, Hamlin, Harvick are going to get a win. 13, 14, who knows? What's going to happen is we get some equalizers, like I said, with the road courses. Of course, we got Daytona to close out the regular season. Oh, so much to talk about, lots to do. Got a busy night, going to be on PETM podcast later tonight, so make sure you come check that out. And something I know they'll agree with me on. And can we please, listen, I don't get, but I understand the thought process behind competition cautions, from a tire wear perspective for the teams with no practice, all that I do get it. But if a natural caution comes out, can we call it within a percentage of laps from when that one's going to can NASCAR just have the discretion to say, hey, this is going to be our comp caution so that we don't have the melee that happened on Friday night? Again, get into all that. Lots to talk about. I put it out there on Twitter earlier today. Show might go a tad long, and I'll tell you why in just a second. First, man, the weather up here in Michigan just will not break. Like 48 degrees and raining all weekend on Friday and Saturday. Saturday was nice. Friday and Sunday were nasty. Yesterday, Monday was nasty. But things are looking better. It's supposed to be in the upper 60s tomorrow and then trend upward, which means I can get back on the golf course. The deck is finally done. It's amazing. It's so badass. So after a month of not being able to smoke any meat, I was finally able to smoke a couple chickens on Saturday, which felt good. Had that smoker fired back up, which was great. Hope you guys enjoyed last week's show with Spencer Boyd and the guys from Angry Brew. Just a reminder, have not forgot about the J-Ski bonus shows. Those will be back starting next Thursday. Dustin Albino and I are going to recap the Dash for Cash event in the Xfinity Series. If you guys know and follow Dustin, he's an Xfinity guy. That's what he does. So it's going to be awesome to recap these last 4 weeks with the Dash for Cash event. So looking forward to that. Also, next Tuesday for the Tuesday night show, Jeff Striegel is back. Him and I are going to break down the first half of the season. So can't wait to get Jeff back on. Tonight, though, really excited. Michael Carey. He's over at TobyChristie.com. He's done some stuff with Race Hub and Fox and NBC. He's going to be out, and he's also friends with the old Lap Traffic intern, Dan Ryan. So I got both of those guys, as well as fresh off his P2 finish from this weekend on Saturday afternoon, Josh Berry is going to make his Lap Traffic debut. Little shake up to the format. Michael, Dan, and I are really going to kind of wrap up Darlington and mix that in all with just a random roundtable, which is really cool. So that'll be in the mix. Got social media shout outs getting closer. And then Aaron Studwell's got the weather for Dover, Lucky Dog, Lap Down, and of course, fantasy to roll it out or finish it out, not roll it out, finish it out. So let's get things started. Let's kick this thing off and get Josh Berry on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line. He's driven just about everything under the sun. He's got over 75 late model stock car victories. He's currently the driver, the number 8 with JRM in the Xfinity Series. He picked up a win a couple weeks ago at Martinsville and finished P2 this past weekend at Darlington. Welcome to the Lap Traffic Podcast, Josh Berry. Josh, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing really good. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you, man, for sure. So there's so many things we could talk about, and I bet you got stories for a month, so I know we're never going to scratch the surface, but listen, first things first, where did you put the clock?
So it actually hasn't made it home yet. That was thankfully my second one that I won at Martinsville. So the one from the Xfinity race has been at Junior Motorsports for a couple weeks, but we're getting ready to pack it up and bring it home here probably this week.
Nice. Very cool. You got a couple spots you think it might go?
Man, I don't know. I don't have a real big house or anything, so I'm gonna still working on that exactly. And I got a 1-year-old that is into absolutely everything right now.
Sure.
So we need to keep it out of her reach a little bit too.
Absolutely, I get that for sure. Well, listen, man, you've won some track championships at the local levels, late model championships. For the fans out there that maybe don't know your backstory all that well, walk us through your career getting started and up until running in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, so basically I started racing when I was 8 years old in go-karts. Ran those for a number of years, moved up, ran a 4-cylinder stock class, and then actually got a legend car and raced legend cars for about 3 years. That was probably till about 2009. So by that point I'd been racing about 10 years. And basically when I was 19, racing legend cars at the National Fairgrounds is actually where I raced at on the quarter mile there. And did iRacing a lot. Still do. Still enjoy. It's a hobby of mine. It's just, iRacing and online racing over the course of the years. And,
sure.
And built a relationship with Dale Jr. on there a little bit. Nothing, I never really thought anything of it other than that he enjoyed it racing on there, and so did I, and we just kind of became friends. And basically that friendship kind of turned into him offering me an opportunity to test his late model stock at Motor Mile Speedway in Virginia. They were at a little different spot with the late model program at JRM, and I just was in the right place at the right time. I got an opportunity to do a test, and the test went well, and that turned into a couple races. And, a couple months later, I moved to North Carolina and began working for JRM. And that's been, over 10 or 11 years ago now. So,
that's crazy.
So it's really a crazy story. Thinking back on it now, I've just been very fortunate to even, race a stock car, a late model or anything. And, like I said, we just kind of worked, a bunch of people over the years, we've just worked and, kind of built this late model stock program into what it is today, which is, really one of the best in the Southeast, really, in our area. And, we've won a ton of races and championships and last year a national championship. So that, all those things kind of led into this, Xfinity opportunity this year. I've had a couple Xfinity opportunities here or there over the years and done some different things and different opportunities here or there, but really this was the first, substantial, real shot for me, getting 12 races all consecutively. And, I think it's went pretty well.
No, I mean, it's been incredible. I want to get to that in just a minute, but first, just to kind of piggyback off of what you had said, that is an incredible story. Just iRacing with Junior and boom, 10 years later, here you are, running for him and all that kind of stuff. That's so crazy. Talk a little bit about, what it's like to have grown with JRM's, their late model program and how that team's developed a little bit over the years since you started working for and racing with that program.
Yeah. So, in 2010 was when I moved to North Carolina, and really at the time at the late model program, we just had one car and was racing sporadically here or there. And really we just kind of started there with that. And at the time I actually worked at Gina Motorsports on the Xfinity team as like a tear down and parts washer. And I washed the cars after the races and stuff. So I kind of I've kind of done everything, over the course of the years. So this, I think that's what's made this year so special. But yeah, the late model program, we just kind of in the early years, we just, kept working and trying to get better. I think me, I was young but not real young, but pretty hands on with the program, and it just took us a couple years to really get the people in place and get the cars where we needed to, and really through like in the mid, like I want to say 2014, I think was our first year. We brought in some new help. Ryan Schaefer, he's like a great friend of mine, and he's been with the program ever since then. He come in, and we actually brought in William Byron for a second late model team, and that was his first stock car opportunity. And me and William raced all year at Hickory and some other places, and that was really when we kind of turned the corner with our program. I think we started. We were able to run two cars and bring in some more people and step our deal up, and that was really kind of the beginning of the run that I've been on in the late model car. Like I said, we've just been just racing all over the Southeast. It seems like every year our goals have changed and things have changed what we're trying to accomplish with our program, but it's been a great home for me. I really love that racing. I love the people, and I love what I get to do, and just running the short track stuff.
Sure.
It's been a great opportunity for me, and obviously, I've always wanted to move my career up the ladder, but the reality of it is it's just it just takes a lot of funding and different things, and I'm so grateful for what I've been doing.
Yeah, no, like you said, like just to get the first, right place, right time, and it takes a lot of right place, right times, and right sponsors, right money, all that kind of stuff. It's so incredibly difficult, but it can happen, which is the cool thing. All right, so 13th start Xfinity Series, and you pick up the win, man. Talk about Martinsville a little bit, the emotion behind that race, that win, and how that is really fueled, midway here through your stint in the first half of the season.
Yeah, I think when I went into this opportunity, I had circled Martinsville, as a great opportunity for us. I've got a lot of late model experience there, and actually, I'm still the reigning defending winner of the big late model stock race there from 2019, and so I had a little extra confidence, I feel like, going into that race.
Sure.
But
that's awesome.
I think I just know how tough the Xfinity Series is, and it's so difficult to win these races, and just to be perfect, you have to have a great car and great strategy. Your pit stop's got to be great. Your restart's got to be great. So, I think going into that, I felt like it was a great opportunity for us, but, by no means did I feel like we were going to, lead the most laps and win the race. I think it was definitely possible, but, we just executed. I think it was it was obviously a big deal for me personally.
Sure.
And for my career, what we're going to do from here. But, it meant a lot to finally put the 8 team in victory lane. They'd been, that group had been formed for, I believe this is the 3rd year now, and had a bunch of different drivers. And, this year is kind of the closest they've been to some normalcy with, only a couple drivers. And, it just meant a lot to get those guys in victory lane. It was a big deal to win that race. And it just was just an amazing experience. And like I said, I think we really, it really built my confidence up a lot. It was a big weight off my shoulders to win that race. I think, I'm coming off of my 2020 season, in the late model car. I won, I believe, 28 races.
Wow. That's incredible.
28. It was like 28 races out of 40 starts, and a national title for the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts weekly series.
Yeah.
And so we're coming off all this success, and I think our expectations are, were a little high. We felt like that this opportunity was something special could happen, and really through my first 5 starts or so, we had a lot of just random events happening. We had really each race we felt like we were fast enough to run top 10, if not top 5, and just had mistake after mistake. And, heading into Martinsville, I think, like I said, I was a little more confident, but after the start of the season we had, I think, I just knew how tough it would be, but we were able to get it done.
That's so cool, man. You almost backed it up this weekend at Darlington, finished P2. I mean, from the TV, man, it was eventful. Not maybe as chaotic as the truck race was, but it looked like it was going to start out that way. What'd you see from the driver's seat, man, as you worked your way up throughout the field there and all that on Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, man, it was a blast. Honestly, that track and the package that the NASCAR Xfinity Series has right now works so well at a place like that. And we had a really good car. We knew we were kind of in the hole. We had a flat tire at Talladega late, and then lost a lap, got the lap back, and then it rained, so we didn't finish well at Talladega. So that affects your starting spot for the following week. So we just knew we just kind of had to be patient early on and just take it as it went. And, early on I felt like we had a really good car, and, we just worked a little strategy, had some things go our way. And then, ultimately I thought we were, on pace to finish 4th or 5th, which would have still been a great day. We had a late caution, pit crew nailed it, gave me a couple spots, and then, they were racing for the win. So it was, like I said, it was a lot of fun. It was fun battling with Justin there at the end. I think, everything with the the restarts and whatnot, they're so critical and
chaotic.
And chaotic. Yeah. And I think, I did fairly well. Justin was able to get by me on that one and hopefully ended up being the difference. But still, second was a great day for us, and we're not going to hang our head too much.
Sure, no, and now you're qualified for the last Dash for Cash race here coming up this weekend at Dover. Everything I was able to do some research on, it doesn't look like you've turned a lap at Dover. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but how do you get ready for a track that you either have zero or very little experience at, and going out there and competing for that Dash for Cash?
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. I'm working on it, and as of right when we're talking, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe I'm going to run the ARCA East race on Friday, which will be a good experience for me to be able to get some laps before the Xfinity race. But it's been difficult. Without practice, I think, it's definitely, it's hard on someone like me because I think we waste the beginning part of the race just kind of getting acclimated to the track. Absolutely. And the car and the track combo. I think that puts me a little bit behind some of my competitors in that aspect. But, our A team and Taylor, they do a great job preparing the car, and really we've had great cars on nearly every race. And they do a good job of getting us close for not having practice. And, I feel confident that Dover will be the same. Like I said, hopefully we can, make all the laps in that ARCA race on Friday, and that'll help, aid the start of our race on Saturday.
That's great. No, that's cool. All right. Now listen, what's coming up for you after, the first half of the Xfinity Series? Where will we be able to still see you race throughout the summer?
Yeah, so right now we're planning on running the late model stock throughout the summer and into the fall, and we primarily base our schedule off the Cars Tour. That's a late model stock and a super late model tour that is based in their headquarters is in North Carolina, and we race all over North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina. That's kind of what we base our schedule off of with our late model program. And then, towards the fall, we'll, be at, a couple of the big late model stock shows like the Martinsville 300 in October. So, I'll be short track racing. Working on trying to find some more opportunities, in between there to stay in the top 3 series, but we'll just have to see how that all plays out.
Absolutely. Well, I sure hope to see you running full time, competing for this championship here. That's for sure. Listen, real quick, give a shout out, sponsors, where everyone can follow you on social media and all that good stuff.
Yeah, like I said, thank you again for having me. I've got pretty much all my social media is at Josh Berry with Twitter and Instagram and everything like that, and just this whole experience this year has been so much fun. I'm so grateful for Dale and LW Kelly, everybody at JRM for giving me an opportunity, and all our sponsors that help make that happen. Tire Pros, they've been an exciting new partner of ours that's really enjoyed having me and my story, and we've had Chevrolet, Filter Time, Hendrick Motorsports obviously does a lot for JRM, helping it get us going, and late model team. We have All Things Automotive that's been a long sponsor of ours, and iRacing's on the hood actually a bit as well. So we've got a lot of great partners, and this year really it's been hard to believe how well it's been going, but it's definitely been a blast.
That's great, man. Well, listen, I've had a blast. Thank you so much for being a part of the show this week. I really appreciate it. The Lap Traffic Nation, Josh Berry, driver the number 8 with JRM. Josh, good luck this weekend. Look forward to having you back on the show sometime down the road, man. All
right, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, I'll see you.
See ya. Oh, Lap Traffic Nation. Great to add Josh Berry to the alum list of guests that have joined the Lap Traffic podcast. But right now, let's keep things rolling. Let's get Michael Carey on. Let's get the old Lap Traffic intern Dan Ryan on. Let's talk Darlington and throwbacks and all the good stuff to come out of this week. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line, making his first appearance on the Lap Traffic podcast. You might have seen him on Race Hub. You might have read his work over at TobyChristie.com. Welcome to the Lap Traffic podcast. Michael Carey, what's up, brother? How are you?
Brandon, a pleasure. I see a lot about your podcast. It's all over my feed some days, so I'm glad we can finally, talk together. This is great.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's cool to hear that because, when you're tweeting and you're going through stuff, you don't know who's seeing stuff. So to hear it's very rewarding to me as an amateur podcaster to hear that, so that's awesome.
That's not amateur, man. 5 years. That's not amateur.
Well, I ain't getting paid, so I'll still categorize it as amateur, but thank you. I really appreciate that. Great to have you on. Excited to get to hear your story and what got you into racing and all that kind of stuff, and talk about this past weekend, the season. Lots to talk about. Lap Traffic Nation also on the line. He's going to chime in every once in a while here tonight. He's been on a couple times. He is not sure, the Lap Traffic podcast intern, Mr. Dan Ryan. What's up, man? How you been?
I feel like this is after recapping the throwback weekend. This is definitely the best throwback anyone could have right here. Absolutely. I love it. It is so good to be back.
It's good to have you, man. You and I keep in touch, but it's definitely been a minute since you've been on the show. Glad to have you on as well. Like I said a second ago, we got lots to talk about between, personal lives, racing, lots to do. So let's go about it like this. Let's start with Michael, man. You've been in the sport a while. You've been a fan of the sport a while. You're on social media. I've seen your stuff. Dan was like, man, you got to get him on. Give everyone your 411. What got you into racing? Race Hub, Toby Christie. Give us the beat down on you.
So I guess the first place to start is I was about 2 or 3 years old, and this is a story my mom tells. I was sitting in front of the TV one day, just watching TV. She was flipping through the channels and racing. there was a race on. NASCAR came on. She said that I saw Jeff Gordon's Rainbow Warrior 24 and fell in love with the car. She changed the channel, and all of a sudden I started screaming and crying, would not stop. So she tried feeding me. She tried giving me toys. She tried calming me down. Nothing worked. Then she put NASCAR back on, and I stopped, and I was happy. She did it one more time to see that she wasn't crazy. Happened again. So since 2 or 3 years old, I've been very happy, involved in racing. It got pretty serious, though, I would say around 2017 or so, when I joined up with Mark Zumoff. He's the 76ers play-by-play announcer. He has his own kind of like a broadcaster development program. So I joined that when I was still in college. I think I was a freshman in college. And he had a connection to somebody over at Fox Sports. He's with NBC Sports, but, in this business, everybody knows everybody.
Sure.
So he got in contact with the Eagles and because I'm based in Philadelphia, and I got to work behind the scenes at an Eagles game with Fox. So coincidentally enough, the same gentleman who was directing the show at the time, his name's Artie Kempner. You might have heard his name on the NASCAR on Fox broadcast by Mike Joy. He was working the NFL on Fox game, and he does NASCAR. So we sat down for 15 minutes. He said, what is it that you want to do? And I said, I'd love to be working with Fox, working a career in NASCAR media. About a year later, I started working behind the scenes with them at races. I was a runner. So basically just like an assistant to, the talent, I would, build stuff up, tear stuff down. At the time I was working in the booth actually. So I was with Jeff, Daryl, Mike Joy, got to talk with them a lot. And then I joined the NBC side of things because a good amount of the people behind the scenes will do both. They'll do the Fox stuff and the NBC stuff.
Sure.
So I became a runner for a couple of years. And at the same time, there was one race where I was working in the Poconos and I had to pick up Chris Myers from the Philadelphia International Airport. And I picked him up and we started talking. He started telling me about his life. I started talking about my life. He got me hooked up with the people in Charlotte at Fox Sports Studios in Charlotte. And they offered me a Race Hub internship. So I got to spend 4 months working at NASCAR Race Hub, doing some video stuff for them, helping them generate new ideas for content. A couple of the features that I actually proposed to them actually were produced. And then I got to do my own stand-up report with Kyle Busch at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. I got to do my own hosting reel. I was the first intern to actually do a hosting reel on the new set, which was really awesome. Met a lot of great people. We talked about CJ before the show started. He was one of the few that really taught me a lot of stuff while I was there. And then ever since then, I've been working still behind the scenes with NBC. Last year during the pandemic, that was interesting, traveling to all these races during the pandemic. And then last August, I hooked up with TobyChristie.com and been writing for them ever since. Toby's a great partner to work with. He gives me total freedom, whatever I want to write about. And then I have my own podcast as well. So I'm everywhere. I mean, it's a very busy schedule for me, for sure.
What's your podcast name?
So my podcast is called Under the Hood. Basically, what started it off was I would interview people behind the scenes, learn more about, those who I think deserve more attention. So I talked to a couple media members, Hannah Newhouse, Dylan Welch, Jacqueline Drake with the Cars Tour. And then what that turned into was I started interviewing designers. And we formed the Designer Roundtable, consisting of Harris Liu with Stewart Haas Racing, Emily Butler, Truex Management Group, Sean McGee, he does work with a bunch of teams. Same with Ryan Daly, and Kyle Sykes, he works with Trackhouse. And we formed this podcast group, and we were doing multiple episodes just about, for up and coming designers. What is it that you should be looking out for? What should you be working on? Here's how to better your skills. And then, that turned into a whole other beast. That launched a whole Discord server with 350 designers in it. So
that's awesome.
It's been a busy year. It's been a very busy year, but the design community is an incredible group of people.
Sure. So I got my first taste of Discord a month and a half or so ago with Landon Castle, Parker Kligerman, and the E-Racer series with the Carnomaly 500 and all that. I did a lot of content for them around that, and they were like, well, we're on Discord, and I had to download the app, had never used Discord before, right? That's an incredible tool. Like, that's something like, I keep saying, like, I need to do TikTok content, I need to do more Instagram content. You just run out of time in the day, especially when you've got a full-time job and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, man, there's some untapped avenues out there, I feel like, that could be huge from whether you're a social media producer, podcaster, YouTube, whatever it is, that it's just like everybody does YouTube, everybody does Twitter. Where can you get in at that fresh start and be one of the first and really start building up?
Well, one of the unique things about the whole Discord server is that there are about 350 designers in it right now. Everybody from complete amateurs to professionals that are working full-time jobs. And we put them all together. And there's different channels where you can submit your designs for feedback. You can post your non-NASCAR related stuff, your social content, any designs you have on track. And really in the last year, it's taught a lot of these designers where it's not a competition. The whole community, the Discord server was designed to bring everybody together and to help build each other up. And from that, I've had sponsors, drivers, and teams that came to me asking, hey, do you know any designer that might want to help us out with this and stuff like that? So the Discord server is actually getting people jobs and it's getting people work. So Discord is an incredible tool to use, especially when you want to bring people together like that. You can't beat it.
That's incredible.
I will agree. I'll agree with what he's saying on that too, because I know Michael and I met up before, and he talked about how he wanted to do that, and I thought that was such a great idea. And now looking at having followed his career and following other people who do design, I think it's great because I'll watch a race too, and I'll see that all these designer schemes on track that I see in that roundtable, and it's really, really inspiring to see how far they've come.
That's awesome. And Michael, you had mentioned, like you could started the podcast, to kind of get people that you felt deserved extra recognition. And I'll tell you, anytime I can get a track on the show, and Dan can speak to this because Dan's helped me get some tracks on the show. Like, I just feel the tracks don't get enough airtime promotion. Like, yeah, sure, you might get a commercial on Fox or NBC week, 2 weeks before that race, but it's like really getting that track promoter some airtime to being able to talk about, why fans need to come beyond the racing because, over the last decade and a half, like a race weekend has become an event. Like, yes, there's racing, but it's, hey, some people come just for the concert. Some people come for the events and maybe the carnival or whatever might be in the, around the track. And it's really getting to promote and really get the promoter of that track attention. So I feel you there because I feel the tracks don't get enough promotion from an air perspective. So I totally get where you're coming from with that.
Yeah, and I agree with that. A lot of times when you watch, a perfect example was with Fox. I mean, this past weekend, they went straight from Darlington to Coda. It's like, wait a minute, you got Dover in the middle. Like, where's that promotion at? And Dover, I mean, it's a fun track. I've gone there as a fan. I've worked there multiple times. That's a fantastic track to go to. I feel like there's not a bad seat in that track. And that's something that actually really bothered me was, Mike Joy just said, we're going to Dover. And then we're going to Coda, and they go right to a Coda promotion. And I understand it's a brand new track. There's a lot of excitement behind it, but you're right. A lot of these tracks, they don't get a lot of promotion. The only time they really get promotion is the week before. Yeah. And
that doesn't during help with COVID ticket sales that much. You want to be able to get that at least, if I'm going to talk to a track, I tell them, hey, I want to get you on at least 2 to 3 weeks before your date. That way, I'm small. I understand that. But hey, if someone does listen and it's like, what? That guy sold me on why I need to go to X track. Now that gives them a little bit of time to prepare, whether it's find a hotel, rent an RV, get a tent, put time off for work. Like, you need at least a 2 to 3 weeks, cycle, so to speak, to promote the tracks to maybe actually, I feel anyways, to be able to get them maybe a couple extra ticket sales.
And to both of your points too, I mean, as both, someone who does marketing and as a fan, Mike and I are both in the same area up here in the Philadelphia area. And my home track's always been Dover and Pocono. And I take so much pride in having both of those as my home track. And I think that, it's very important to give them exposure whenever they can, because it helps it does help in many ways.
As Siri chimed in there for you.
Huh?
Was that Siri chiming in for you there?
Siri is a fan of Dover and Pocono too. You ask her, she'll tell you. And Siri's always right.
That's
you Android
great.
People.
Oh man, I can't stand the Android people.
Come on, Dan.
All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about this past weekend here. Let's start with the cluster bleep that was the truck race. 12 cautions for 66 of 147 laps. For me, everybody of Lap Traffic Nation knows how much I love the truck race. The trucks, it was really just their second time back in quite some time at Darlington. It just became one caution after another. No one really could get into a rhythm that I felt. They finally settled down for a little bit at the start of stage 3, it felt like, but it just became, like I said, a bleep show. Michael, what were your thoughts overall on the truck race Friday night?
So the truck race for me was honestly next to the Xfinity Series. I was so excited for that race, and it was a great race. Don't get me wrong. It moved pretty quick, I feel like, through the first two stages. I remember when I was, sitting at my desk, writing up a story about the race. I was surprised when I took a look at the final report for the race, and I think 7 or 8 cautions were in the last stage. I mean, the first two stages, it flew by. It was John Hunter Nemechek's race. He had it done. And then all of a sudden, in stage 3, when, the 4 and I think the 18 wrecked on the front row, it was like, oh my God, like half the field's gone.
Yes.
So the good news, I guess, for me was we might actually see a non-Toyota driver win, because they've won every race this season except for Darlington. Now it's Sheldon Creed. But stage 3 was just its own beast in itself. I mean, it was absolutely insane. I picked Creed to win the race. Toward the end, I didn't think he was going to have it. I thought it was Ben Rhodes, his race to lose. I mean, Creed surprised me with the last 2 restarts.
Yeah, no, I was impressed with his ability to hold off there. The couple of takeaways for me on the truck race were, one, you had quite a few guys that were able that avoided that big wreck. 15, 16, 17 cars when the 4 and 18, to me, it looked like they both kind of spun the tires on that restart, got pushed a little bit, hit each other on the side, and then just kind of collected each other. So one, for me, the fact that John Hunter was able to still rebound and finish 8th, I mean, that's something Kyle Busch does. Like when you say, oh, you can't ever count the 18 out in the Cup Series. Well, the mere fact John Hunter was able to have that type of damage that late in the race, still keep it together and to still get an 8th place finish, that's huge. But I also, Timmy Hill finished 7th. Carson Hocevar with a 3rd place finish. Like, I love when you're able to see guys take advantage of an incident like that and capitalize on the day, because that's big paydays for these guys. Timmy Hill, 7th place finish. Like, Austin Wayne Self, Jordan Anderson with a 10th place finish. And he is such a fan favorite out there on social media from a quote unquote underdog perspective. So to see these guys be able to go out there and get a top 10 at the, historic Darlington Raceway throwback week, that's just big for a lot of those guys. And I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, and on top of that, I mean, if you go a little bit past the top 10, you had Ryan Truex, you had Ryan Reed, even Tyler Ankrum. Ankrum was in that giant wreck, and he rebounded to finish, I think, in the top 15 of this, or 16th. Those are a couple guys, especially Truex and Ankrum, that needed a solid run. More so Ankrum. I mean, he's one Truck Series driver that I really, really want to see succeed. And it's just all season. Every race has gone wrong with this 26 truck.
I am with you. I'm with you. Tyler's been on the show.
For sure.
Go ahead, Dan.
No, I was agreeing with you both.
Yeah. Tyler is like, man, ever since he got that win at Kansas, and it was just like, man, this guy's got something. And he's got the talent and the skill. He pulls off that top 10 every once in a while. And it's just like, man, just something isn't clicking, but you can see it there, and you just want to see it, and to that, I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on Johnny Sauter. Such an abysmal season last year, right? And started out kind of the same way this year, but over the last 3 races or so, he's got some top 10s, and I know that's not the Johnny Sauter we're used to seeing, but it's a step in the right direction to maybe start seeing some more top 5s and maybe seeing Johnny Sauter in victory lane this year. One
of my things with, I've been paying attention to Sauter One of my issues I have with him, honestly, is it seems like within Thor sport between Rhodes and Sauter, either there's a rivalry that we don't know about. It's like every week they seem to find each other, and the radio communications between the two, they're angry at each other. I mean, for your teammate, it sounds like, I don't know. It's a very weird situation, but if Sauter wants to really succeed this season and get better finishes, he's got to work with his teammates in some situations. It's all about that team chemistry. That's so pivotal. I mean, sharing information between each team. I mean, if Rhodes is better at one track and Sauter's not that great, chances are they're going to share information with each other. If Rhodes and Sauter aren't getting along, there's not going to be that incentive to really help each other out. It's I'm winning this race and he's not. I'm not helping him at all. But that's one of the things with Sauter I think needs to be looked at pretty hard is, who's the root of that problem? Is it Rhodes or is it Sauter?
Yeah, no, I agree completely. There's you can see the tension, and that's, to even the non-casual viewer can see how they race each other on the track, which I agree completely there. Let's wrap up the truck talk. Race winner Sheldon Creed getting into a little spat, if you will, with Marcus Lemonis on Twitter there. What'd you guys think of that?
I mean, so when it comes to the whole Camping World sponsor palooza, I think what Marcus is doing is very great for the sport when it comes to supporting a lot of these drivers. I think Las Vegas, there was like 10 Camping World trucks. It's great to see that. If you flip the coin over, though, it seems like this series is in dire straits financially when the series title sponsor is putting up $15,000 to sponsor some of these trucks. And I give Creed credit because he realizes what his team and what GMS is worth. Could he have said that tweet differently? Yeah, probably, because Marcus is doing a lot for the sport. He's helped GMS before. But I really feel like it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. Creed realizes his worth. He realizes, he's a defending series champion. I mean, he's a defending Camping World Truck Series champion. That's how people call it.
Sure.
But he recognizes his worth. But at the same time, $15,000, it's better than nothing.
Yes.
And
well, so I guess, and this is for you, like you said, it's such a twofold thing. It's like, well, like you just said, he is the defending champion running unsponsored. Like, you don't typically see that too often. And it's, it's GM, it's a big name. It's a big team. It's a big driver. There's all these things like, why is he running unsponsored at that point in time then? And to the point of, I get that. Yeah. You don't want to devalue your worth, your teammates' worth, the organization's worth. And, if I'm so torn on it because like you said, $15,000 is a lot of money. Wouldn't you rather have something than nothing? And at the same time, I guess if enough people do that, is that going to eventually start to bring down, what you got to pay for a quarter panel or what you have to pay for a rear bumper?
And that's the other part of the argument. Yeah, get Dan.
I was just going to say, we always see these things with drivers, they have, their spats and they have moments. And then, they always say, like to Michael's point about, could he have said it differently? And to Sheldon Creed's point, you look at, in the moment, that's his reaction and that's how he felt about it. And, but it makes you think about all these other drivers of, they look back on themselves and say, yeah, I could have maybe said that differently. I'm one of the ones wondering, does he think differently now that he said, how he said it? So that was a good point. And, to your marketing perspective, I agree with Michael 100% on that because, it's a good PR gimmick and it's great brand ambassadorship for the sport. But at the end of the day, is all that PR really going to pay your financials? There's two sides to every story. So I agree with both of you guys on that. I think it's a really good point.
So the other thing to mention too about this is my fear is when a new sponsor comes into the sport now, teams already have lined up, the money book that they have for here's how much we need for a typical race weekend, from tires to fuel, getting the truck to the track, everything. If a new sponsor comes into this sport and sees what Marcus is doing, do you really think that they're going to easily go for the, say, $70,000 per race deal? No, they're going to see that Camping World gets $15,000 to have a fully sponsored truck. And some of these trucks are championship contending vehicles. If they see that, that's going to bring the value of these deals down. And sure, for the sponsor, it's great. They're paying less money to be on the car. But for these teams, it's not going to pay the bills. I mean, GMS is not running on $15,000 sponsorships per race. They're one of the top truck teams in the whole series. Their bills are much higher because they're performing better. So that's a thing I'm worried about for the future of the truck series. With these new sponsors coming in, they're going to want that same deal. They're probably not going to get it, and then they're going to walk.
Sure, that's a great perspective and something I didn't think of it, and that's a great way to look at it. It's like, yeah, that's if you're a under budget team, or I guess not under budget's the wrong word. If you're an underfunded team, you know, that $15,000, you know, maybe looks great for, you know, maybe the 25 of Timothy Peters, but to Sheldon Creed's point, that $15,000. Yeah, would it have gone a distance? Sure, but you know, if GMS isn't going to want to cut back on their engineering, they're not going to want to cut back on their test. You know, they're not going to want to cut back on these things to be able to survive on that as being the constant figure going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's, you know, like I said, that's one of my main concerns about this right now. Absolutely. Is the value of the series is likely dropping.
Yep.
Because these new sponsors are going to come in. They're going to want that same exact deal for as cheap as possible. And some of these underfunded, you know, like Timmy Hill, for example, that could be a great team. You know, $15,000 goes a long way for Timmy Hill's team, but not so much GMS or even DGR, for example.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's move over to the Saturday Xfinity Series that started out almost like the truck series with a couple of quick cautions there, but things simmered down a little bit. Justin Allgaier quietly won this thing. You know, he was up there in the top 10 both stages and then kind of nickeled and dimed his way up there and was able to hold off a charging Josh Berry and Brandon Jones and pick up his second win on the season. Noah Gragson almost went 3 for 3 in the Dash for Cash. And again, much like the truck series, we had some underdogs up there. Jeremy Clements, Ryan Sieg, Alex LeBay. You know, and also, like the truck series, we had Harrison Burton, who was up front and had some issues and finished with a top 10. So a lot of similarities between the truck race and the Xfinity race in terms of the racing, the cautions, some underdogs, and then, you know, Justin Allgaier getting the win. What'd you guys think of it?
I mean, it was quick. I mean, that race seemed like it flew by.
Yes.
You know, I'm very happy for Allgaier. You know, that was one of my favorite throwbacks of the weekend. You know, Ryan Williams did a great job with that. You mentioned Jeremy Clements, you know, even Tommy Joe Martins. I mean, he was running in the top 5 at the end of stage 1. I mean, Clements and Martins, those are two drivers that I really think can sneak their way into the playoffs. I mean, Clements is above the playoff cut line now. Martins, I think, is down in, 15th. 15th.
Yep.
They're there and they can make this happen. You know, they're performing well across the board too. It's not like they're only performing well at short tracks. I mean, you know, Clements is getting these top 15 runs, you know, at the 1.5 mile tracks, at the short tracks. They're doing great across the board. You know, Daniel Hemrick, you know, is so close, you know, 9 races, 7 top 10s, second in points overall, you know, not counting the wins. It's got to get that win though. Like it's right there. But you know, one driver actually that I'm pretty concerned about, and you know, Daniel's gonna love me for saying this, Robbie Herbst. You know, SHR as a whole, they're in trouble this year. But Herbst specifically, this is a championship caliber team last season. 9 wins in 2020. They made it to the final round of the playoffs. They didn't get the championship. But for Herbst's situation, there's too much teeter-tottering. You know, he has one great race and then one horrible race. You know, that's a driver that I think at this rate, if he keeps performing this way, I cannot see him staying at SHR next year, no matter how much money Monster's bringing.
Sure. All right, let's talk about SHR for a minute since you brought them up. You know, between 2 series, 5 cars. At one point, all 5 cars were struggling to an immense amount, like not SHR caliber. You know, Kevin Harvick finally starting to get things back. Obviously, Kevin Harvick, you know, your upper echelon, guaranteed Hall of Famer, all that. Got it all, right? You know, then you look at, you know, their next guy, Eric Almirola, you know, got that one win with SHR, kind of like you just said, you know, he's got moments of brilliance, but then he's got moments of just utter what the hell's going on. You know, you look at Cole Custer, Chase Briscoe, you know, rookie, sophomore years, obviously still getting their feet wet, learning, hopefully taking detailed notes, double spacing from Kevin Harvick on a weekly basis. You know, so it's still a matter of growth there. You know, Kevin Harvick, you know, showing some top 10 consistency over the last couple races. I really thought, you know, with the success that he had at Darlington last year, that we were going to see Kevin Harvick contending for this thing this past weekend. That wasn't the case. Did get another top 10, but man, I mean, it's Kevin Harvick and then the other guys basically at this point in time, and it's not the SHR we're used to seeing.
Well, that's how it was last year too. I mean, Harvick, I think, had 9 wins last year.
Yeah. And
Cole got his first win last year.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
yep.
Statistically speaking, that alone, 90% of the wins came from Harvick. And I talked to Cole on Thursday. There's an interview that's dropping tomorrow on TobyChristie.com. By the time this goes out, it'll already be up there. You know, we talked about those struggles, and he told me, he said, you know, the data, we're combing through the data. You know, we're trying everything we can to get back to that form we were at. We were performing very well. But if you even look at SHR and the points right now, I mean, you know, after Darlington, I mean, Custer and Almirola, they finished the last 2 positions possible in 2 eerily similar crashes.
Yeah.
You know, the only driver right now that's looking really good is Kevin Harvick. You know, he's in playoff contention, as he should be, but he's also he hasn't won yet this year. Same with Hamlin and Elliott, which we'll touch on, you know, later on. But you know, Briscoe was a shining light, I feel like, at Darlington. I mean, after, you know, Cole and Almirola finished dead last, I mean, Briscoe was fighting his way in the top 10 a little bit. You know, he was starting to show that he had it. You know, who knows? Maybe the road courses will be a great equalizer. You know, Cole said he's excited for those. It's a shame. I think it's a shame that, you know, Harvick isn't performing where he needs to after, you know, such a dominant season last year.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, let's talk about the Cup race. Martin Truex Jr., our only repeat winner, now has 3, dominated all day. Very eerie reminiscence of the Coke 600 that Martin Truex dominated a couple years ago. You know, I thought it was a really good race. We had comers and goers all day. For me, you know, when I see the top 10s in terms of finish and the stages stretch throughout the top 15, 16, 17 in terms of where they actually finished in a race, that shows a little movement. That shows people had some things changing in the car. Maybe someone had an early setup hit, a late setup hit, you know, but it was the Martin Truex Jr. story there. You know, Kyle Larson finished second, Kyle Busch third. Kyle Busch, kind of like Sheldon Creed, had some social media things going on this week. You know, what was your general thoughts on the Cup race on Sunday?
Daniel, you want to take this one first?
So I will say this. I was very, very surprised, having been at Darlington for last year's Southern 500 and witnessed in person the memory that is now ingrained in everyone's mind when it comes to Truex at Darlington, with taking out, you know, with what happened with the 9 car. I was very happy to see him get the win, and I feel like it was a redemption moment in a way. And I think that was, you know, it was Truex, and then it was all the other cars in that field. He was in a class of his own. And I do think that, you know, looking at this, the stats are going to speak for themselves, but looking at it, I think that was very deserving for him to get that win.
Yeah. And I think, you know,
Go ahead.
Yeah, Brandon.
No, I was just gonna say, I agree. It's a great thing. You know, the only thing now that's eluding Martin Truex Jr. is that plate race, super speedway, Daytona, Talladega.
Yeah, and you know, looking at Darlington this past weekend, you know, one of the major things that I was a big fan of, and I've been a huge advocate for this is the big motor, small blade package. I mean, yesterday we saw some fantastic moments. I mean, it wasn't the whole race, but there was quite a few moments where, I mean, if you remember when Kyle Larson, split Ryan Newman and Tyler Reddick, chasing after that move that's Kyle Larson. That's how he is. But with a different package, that move probably wouldn't have happened or would have ended differently. So, the fans want they want this package so bad, as do I. And I feel like there's got to be some reason why we're not seeing it. But whenever we see this package run, it's beautiful. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of seeing, 15th and down, a lap down, when we're, getting towards the end of the race, like those long green flag runs. That's probably why I felt like the race was kind of dragged out a little bit. But overall, I mean, I was just happy with the racing that was on track. There was a lot of good close moments, seeing the drivers fight the cars. And like you said before, some drivers were coming and going, they were getting adjustments to their car. It was how the drivers were handling their race cars. That's NASCAR racing, as it should be.
Yeah, no, I agree. What were your thoughts on, to me, did it bother me a smidge? Yes, just because I'm a nostalgia type guy and I do like to preserve things. I like the Southern 500 Saturday night race as the throwback. What did you guys think of the fact that it was, earlier in the year? I know we're going to go back to Darlington, but they did the throwback early on a Sunday afternoon race.
Daniel's ready to go. I could see him. He's he's holding this,
You guys already know my opinion on this. I think that, for NASCAR to do that change is very bold, but it's the Southern 500. It's the crown jewel of the sport. It's that one throwback weekend in August that everybody, flocks to and thinks of. And when I think the Southern 500, I think old school Darlington. Like, I think that retro vibe. It's a great marketing effort for the sport. It's just all around good times. And to do it, to pull it out of its place. I mean, the sport's already changed so much, and especially in one season, like with all these different races we're doing this year. And don't get me wrong. I think it's still a good idea, but it's just, I love that idea of doing that. And it's that perfect weekend, late summer. And those are my thoughts on it. You can tell after having been there, that weekend means a lot to me drastically.
I think, so I completely understand why it was moved. Having throwback and the playoff race at the same time, the attention that's on playoff time is being taken away. And I felt that last year watching the race. But, personally, I'm more for the Southern 500 being throwback weekend. But at the same time, I feel like if it was that way, because Darlington had this problem before where you had the Mother's Day race and you had the Labor Day race. And it was kind of unbalanced a little bit when it came to having two races. So if you put throwback weekend on the spring date, that's going to have more fans inclined to go because that's giving them a reason to go. The August race, the summer race is taken care of. That's the playoffs.
It's
fans want to go to those races. Yeah, that's its own draw. If the Mother's Day race this year had no throwback theme at all, some fans probably wouldn't have been so inclined to go, because I saw plenty of fans on social media, even some of my close friends, they're decked out in throwback gear. They're bringing out their old cars, they're bringing out the old hats, the shirts, the pants, but at the same time, I feel like throwback might be coming to an end soon. It's been, I think, 5 or 6 years. I just feel like it's run its course, to be perfectly honest with you.
I can see that. I think it was 14, and I only vividly remember that because of the Kevin Harvick throwback from 2014 being very special. And so I think it was 14 when they started that. And, maybe it'd be something you bring back every 2 years, every 3 years, maybe 2 years on, 2 off, rotate it in, keep it, keep things being special. So I could see that to where maybe that fad is starting to dwindle a little bit.
On the throwback note, I do have a question for both of you all. I do have two things that I want to consult with you all about. But on the throwback note, being that Michael is the design extraordinaire that I always flock to for everything, I'd like to get both of your inputs. What were your favorite throwback schemes and why?
Go ahead, Mike.
I think you should go first. My answer is going to be longer.
Okay. I mean, mine is, and Dan and I are probably on the same page with this, obviously. Mine was Kevin Harvick. I love the throwback to senior, the old good wrench. Dan and I had text Dan early in the week, and I'm like, dude, how in the world have they not announced a Harvick throwback? And it was like, well, maybe something's coming later in the week. And then I'm like, and I said, I feel like they've missed out on a huge marketing opportunity to sell T-shirts and hats. I thought it was cool. Like they were the last people to announce and all that. And it was badass. But I'm like, man, I would have liked to have known. I would have bought something ahead of time just to have it for that race if I could have. But yeah, for me, it was definitely Kevin Harvick, just because, I mean, hey, I was a fan before I was a podcaster, and he's always been my guy.
So when it comes to throwbacks, I am a huge, huge stickler for detail.
Okay.
That to me will sell me on a throwback completely. So a couple that come to mind for me, Riley Herbst had a very, very good throwback to Tony Stewart, Harris Lou. I know how painstaking like the details are that he does. He puts a lot of time and effort into those cars. Same with Ryan Daly. He did Quinn Houff's 00 car, throwing back to Johnny Andretti. If you paid attention, you would have noticed that on the side skirts, Daly half colored the side skirts because that's how they were on Andretti's car back crazy. When he won in the late 90s. So details like that to me are a huge thing, but even he skewed the numbers the right way. I'll give Harvick that. I'm very happy that they skewed the number the right way. Yeah. And not just, like Bubba Wallace's car, for example. I love the meaning behind it. But when it comes to like the finer details of it, seeing that 23 in the classic 34 font as Wendell Scott had, I think that would have been such a fantastic detail for that scheme. Even Spire and HMS. I mean, Spire, I think, had the best rollout possible. I mean, their throwback was done, to the driver owner who used to occupy that building. And even Corey LaJoie wore the old fire suit. Yep. And, Corey has such an appreciation for Kowicki. The same sponsor came back. I mean, how do you top that? It's insane. Sure. You had Chase Elliott with HMS and Hooters. I mean, they recreated that iconic image with Kowicki with the trophy. Ankrum with Ricky Bobby, done by Dick Clavico.
That was good. That was really good. Yep.
That was great. And then you had, both Kyle Williams and Ryan Williams. I mean, they did a boatload of stuff for Junior Motorsports, Colleague, the Toyota camp.
I got to give props to Josh Berry with the Junior All-Star baseball throwback. That looked pretty cool.
So, like I said, I'm a huge stickler for detail. I wish so bad that they had the proper 8, but we all know why that can't happen.
Yeah.
But there was also a few disappointing ones too. I mean, you had JTG with the 47. I don't know what that was. Pollock with the 11. I mean, CGR with the 42. Like they got some details wrong on that. But overall, Throwback Weekend was gorgeous this year. The Xfinity Series specifically killed it this year.
Yes, I agree completely there.
I agree with his point.
Yeah, go ahead.
I like the fact that Michael gave the credit to Harris Lou for that 98 scheme, because I think he's been such a tremendous asset to SHR since he started, and having followed his career and looked up to him, that seeing that scheme come out and the whole throwback, the theme behind it, everything that they put into it. I know he had to work a lot on that scheme. So that was definitely probably one of my, if not aside from the Harvick, obviously was my favorite for that weekend too.
Excellent. Well, guys, this has been a quick 42 minutes here. Hang on the line after we wrap this thing up. Michael, tell everybody where they can follow you at on social media, what you got coming up over at Toby Christie and all that good stuff.
So Twitter, it's at Michael with it looks like it's 2 L's, but it's Michael with a capital I, Carey, because I wanted the 2 L's. Unfortunately, someone has that. I'm trying to get that name back. We have a lot of great stuff coming from TobyChristie.com, especially in the coming months. I mean, there's so many good things that are coming to this website behind the scenes. Can't talk about it, unfortunately, but I got the Cole Custer interview will be dropping on Tuesday afternoon, I believe. So by the time this goes out, it'll already be there. But we got a lot of great stuff in the pipeline. So for all your news, exclusive content in the garage, TobyCrazy.com is your place.
Awesome. Dan, where can everybody follow you at?
Well, everybody, my Instagram handle is at Dan2_Ryan, and on Twitter at TheRyan5962, because mine don't match and I don't have matching L's in my name, so because I'm not as cool as Michael. But everybody should go follow him because his work is amazing, and I've definitely enjoyed following it along with Lap Traffic. So don't pay attention to me. You guys go follow them too on social media, because they both are great at what they do, and they deserve all the credit.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it, Dan. Thank you.
Lap Traffic Nation, huge thanks to Michael Carey and Dan Ryan for calling in tonight. Guys, look forward to talking to you real soon.
Same here.
You too, Brandon. Thank you.
Oh, man, what a great discussion that was. I tell you what, that time flew by. I could have kept us going. I know they would have kept going too. But, man, look forward to having Michael back on, and, of course, Dan as well. I'm going to keep things rolling here. I asked you guys on Twitter over the weekend what your favorite throwback is and why from this past weekend. So let's get to some of your responses there. 83 fan at Waddle3 Cody. Austin Dillon, because he's my favorite driver. Colby Howard, because he's my favorite driver, and Spencer Boyd, because he's my favorite driver. I love it. Those guys all had some great paint schemes there for sure. Jeff at JBev1789, who you're going to hear from a little later in the fantasy segment, really loved Eric Jones's nod to John Andretti. Perfectly done. Second goes to Corey LaJoy in the Kowicki scheme. I love it. Josh at Toyota Racing 83's got three of them. Corey LaJoy, Eric Jones, and William Byron. They look the most spot on to the original. And hey, as you heard Michael Carey a little bit ago, that's key for a throwback, is how close to the original can it be. Jess at Iowa NASCAR fan. A lot of really great ones. Harvick's brought back some goosebumps and emotion. I'll also say the best throwback was the racing, with the driving, slipping and sliding, and the edge of losing it with some wrecking because of it. It was refreshing. Hey, I totally get that for sure. And you know me, I'm a sucker for any Harvick new diecast that I get to pre-order, which has already been done. Lisa at LL Chananas. Corey LaJoy in the Spire Motorsports car. That car, it was a dead ringer for Kowicki's. The side-by-side was a mirror image, and then LaJoy wearing Kowicki's old fire suit before the race killed it. That was pretty badass, that's for sure. Mark at Mark_Schaefer. Eric Jones, STP throwback to John Andretti's ride. That was one of the first diecasts I ever had. So small part of me still associates NASCAR with that paint scheme. Plus, it's great to see Andretti get recognized. That's really cool, man. That's a cool little backstory there. Hope you got that one on pre-order. John at John_Woo. Corey LaJoy, that throwback was spot on. Chris at USMC_NASCAR Fire. Favorite was the 7 car sponsors paint uniform. Perfect. Eric at T Super Speedway. Haven't heard from Eric in a minute. How you doing, brother? Good to hear from you. LaJoy 100% because Alan Kowicki, and because they had the sponsor number, font, race shop accurate. Only thing missing was the manufacturer. 43 gets a honorable mention. Brian at Storm and B81. Do I have to pick just one? How about one for each series, like Spencer Boyd, Ryan Vargas, and even though I'm a Chase fan, I gotta say Michael McDowell. Very cool. I agree. Patrick at Patrick Dron 19. Top 3: Corey LaJoy, Martin Truex, and the throwback to Dick Johnson when he ran in NASCAR towards the 80s and early 90s. Those are some good ones there. G4 Sim at G4 Sim 2021. Martin Truex Jr. because Furniture Row deserves some recognition for sure. And to close it out, Ron at Ron 300, the mobile one with the 2001 tribute to Senior, the reverse Goodwrench paint scheme that Harvick drove the next week. Oh, you know it, which takes me to my takeaway. For me, I got a homer out on this one. It's going to Kevin Harvick, throwing it back to his rookie year, honoring the old Goodwrench, number 3 in white. That was awesome. Couldn't figure out, though, why they waited so long to make the announcement, though. To me, that seemed like a missed opportunity for early T-shirt sales. But, you know, I was hoping to add that diecast, a race win diecast with that one. But like I said, got that pre-ordered for the Darlington collection. Like I said, wish they had saved these throwbacks for the Southern 500, but it was cool to see Fox get the throwback. We've seen NBC do it a couple times and all that. And hey, based on what came out today with the numbers, people tuned in, which, I mean, that's the number one important piece there. So thanks for the responses and all that, and we'll keep those going as weekly as possible. Let's get to a little lap traffic social media. Everybody, make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast, YouTube, The Lap Traffic Podcast, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter, all at Lap Traffic PC. If you've made it this far into the show, leave a review. That would be awesome. And tell your friends they can listen to the show on iTunes, Podbean, or wherever they listen to their favorite podcasts. Giveaway, less than 75 away. Oh, so close. Double-digit numbers, finally. So thank you to all the new followers and the retweets and all that. You guys know how much that means to me. Can't wait to give this prize pack away. And speaking of new followers, Todd O at Fantasy Racer from Maine, diehard NASCAR and JGR fan. KC at KC Buku, Kansas City fan, NASCAR fan. Dave Joza at DJ Joza from the country to the north. Love having some new Canadian followers that love NASCAR. And Jada at NASCAR Forever 10, NASCAR fan pulling for Kaz, Bubba, Jeffrey Earnhardt, Josh Berry, the underdogs. Well, hey, hope you enjoy the Josh Berry interview from earlier tonight. Don't forget about the store on the website. Get yourself some Lap Traffic swag. And of course, if you want some stickers and a koozie, I will send those to you for free. All you have to do is fill out the contact page on the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, and I will get those out to you. All right. Let's get Mr. Aaron Studwell on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation joining me on the line. You can follow him on Twitter at RaceWeather, along with Brian Newdorf at NASCAR_WXMAN, keeping us up to date on the weather happenings each and every weekend. Welcome back to the show, Mr. Aaron Studwell. Sir, good evening. How are you?
Oh, good evening, sir. I'm doing well. And yourself?
Oh, I'm doing good. Busy Tuesday, pulling double duty tonight. Got my show going on right now, and going to be on the PETM podcast later tonight. So I'm in demand, baby.
It's tough being popular. It is tough being you.
If only I could have told 18-year-old me that, 18 years ago. Oh, man.
Wait a minute. You're 36?
8. Yeah, I did the math wrong there. I gave myself 2 years.
Wait a minute. I'm doing the subtraction from my age. Let's move on.
Well, man, let's jump right into it. Darlington, man, put on a show for Mother's Day, whether you want to call it a good show, an entertaining show, a shit show. It was a show. It's just whatever word you want to put in front of it.
It depends what night you're talking about.
Right.
Friday night shit show. I'm like, it's just let's put the ARCA guys out there. We'll put them in trucks.
Yeah,
nobody will know the difference.
Right? No.
Oh.
I mean, every once in a while, it's not even entertaining. It just caught me off guard. Like, I was expecting a quality truck race, some veterans out there. I thought there might be some scrap, some wrecks, just with some of the younger guys and them not really having any notebooks in the truck series at Darlington. Last year was the first year they ran there in quite some time, So I thought, man, it should be a little bit decent because of the fact that they do have a little bit, but not a lot of history there. And I was, it was unfortunate that the truck race was the way it was, because if you think about the type of track we were going to, the scrappiness of the truck series, the track, everything was set up for it to be great. And
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think you say you think of a place like Darlington and the history and just what the track is and what the truck series is. It's like a natural match. But for me, the adjective was frustrating. It was you just couldn't watch it. It's like, I know I've got to watch to the end, but do I have to watch to the end?
Right.
When is the end?
Yeah, I'm like, come on. This thing should have been over an hour ago, and I love the trucks. And if it was a 3-hour truck race of quality, I don't care how long it is, but I'm like, all right, can this thing just wrap up? I'm ready for bed. Like,
Yeah.
So, and Saturday started out, I thought we were going to mirror that, but it simmered down. It simmered down, thankfully.
Yes.
But Saturday, though, wasn't without its drama. Noah Gregson, Dash for Cash winner. No, he's not. All that kind of good stuff. Had a decent race at the end. All Guyer fan favorite, which was cool.
Yeah, and it's a solid finish for JR Motorsports with Barry in second.
Absolutely. Heard from Josh Berry earlier tonight on the show,
Oh,
which was
nice.
cool. Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
Yes, yeah. And then Sunday, man, Sunday was good. I mean, if we're only comparing it against the three races of the weekend, it was fantastic. Sunday was a solid Darlington race. I get where the casual fan is going to say, "Oh, well, it was the one guy show." It was, but there was so much movement throughout the field throughout the entire race, and that's what made it good. If Kyle Larson going 3 wide at Darlington, doesn't sell you on what things can be in the sport, then I don't have too much for you.
It's rare that a moment makes me go, ah!
Right. Yes.
That was it.
Yes. Yes.
And they're like downplaying. It's like, oh yeah, if you know Larson off the track, you don't think he's going to do something like that. But if you know him on the track,
right,
that's him.
Yes. At that, and that's there's a handful of people that could have pulled that move off. Maybe some even could and don't. Kyle Busch maybe tries that move. Kyle Larson makes that move. Brad Keselowski makes that move.
Harvick makes that move, especially in the last 10 to go.
Right.
Yeah.
There's only a handful that are even going to try it, let alone when that happened in the race. So, no, I thought it was great. Obviously, we want this horsepower and all that good stuff. So I thought it was great.
I thought it was a good balance, and that goes to your horsepower comment. I think just that low downforce package with the 550, I think it made for good racing there.
Yep.
And I would have, and you talked about a one-man show. I'm not anti-Larson at all. I kind of would have been disappointed. I liked seeing him catch up, but I think it was just such a dominant performance by Truex Jr. that if he didn't mess it up himself,
right.
I just kind of wanted to say, like, hey, you know what? He's earned this win. It was nice seeing somebody make it that late charge, but he used his car up, and that's what racing's about too.
Yes, tire wear, car wear, stripe on the side from the wall. Like when you earn the win, you almost want to see the person get rewarded with that win. It's like, too many times we don't see that happen. Or is it a pit stop issue? What happens to where that the fastest car doesn't win the race? And Truex did it at Charlotte a few years ago. There are just
I wanted to die.
Right?
That was awful.
That was bad. But there are times where it's just like, hey, you kicked ass. Good job, man. Like good,
yes.
You want to see that pay off, with the win. So, and that's what we got.
100%. You're correct.
All right, man. We are headed to Dover. What do we got this weekend?
We got to start on Friday late afternoon with ARCA East, and this is probably the only day we really have a chance to showers. Isolated afternoon showers, partly sunny skies. Sunday earlier start for Xfinity, 1:30 local, variably cloudy, high near 70, and Sunday the 16th Cup, 2:00 start, variably cloudy, high of 72. So, and once we get past this slight chance of showers Friday night, and I'm not even sure that race is televised, it looks good for the weekend.
Excellent.
And I will be at Mid-Ohio, so I'm glad it won. I'm glad it's not going to be raining the day of Sunday.
Yes.
And it looks good for Mid-Ohio, too. So
it takes the stress off Newdorf.
Yes, it does. That's good. Great point.
Yes.
He's going to be like, what? Where?
What? Huh? Where are we at? All right. Well, Lap Traffic Nation, make sure you follow Aaron on Twitter at RaceWeather, along with Mr. Newdorf at NASCAR_WXMAN. Sir, great to talk to you. Catch you in a couple weeks.
You will. Have a great week.
Thanks, man. We'll see you
later.
Oh, great to catch up with Mr. Aaron Studwell. But right now, it is time for this week's Lucky Dog and Lap Down picks. You guys know the drill. Tweet your picks after the race weekend, or you can call the Wave Around hotline, 248-965-9538. Leave your picks there. My Lucky Dog race weekend, hands down, Martin Truex Jr., flat out dominant, putting on a clinic on Sunday, that's for sure. Lap down. Competition yellows, especially when there is a natural yellow right around it. Okay, Let's get to your tweeted responses. Scott, 1985 Wagner's got one for all 3 series. Truck Edition, Lucky Dog, Thor, Sport Racing, 4 in the top 5. Lap down the suckers that picked Austin Hill after they had a warning. Impressed he got a 13th. Xfinity Edition, Lucky Dog, Noah Gregson, 3 for 3, dash for cash. Almost. Lap down, Austin Cindric picked him last lap corner and not get the finish. Yeah, I know. Well, how crazy was that? And then the Truck Edition, Lucky Dog, Kyle Busch, blow a tire, never go a lap down. That is impressive. Lap down, Eric Almirola, 6 laps and done. Bonus Lucky Dog, listeners won't hear me again on Lap Traffic Fantasy. And throwback scheme, Corey LaJoy, Spencer Boyd, Eric Jones. You got it all in that one, brother. I love it. Jeff at JBev1789, Lucky Dog, not sure how it can be anyone but Martin Truex Jr. That was dominant. Coke 600 all over again. Stacking up the playoff points as well. Nice run. Lap down those cars that didn't do throwback schemes. Let's have the track theme the weekend again. Brian at Storm NB 81. Lucky Dog. Roush Fenway with 2 cars in the top 10. That is a very great day for that team. That is for sure. Lap down the fans who complain no matter what. Stop it, people. You're never going to be happy. Yeah, ain't that the truth? 83 fan at Waddle 3 Cody. Lucky Dog, Martin Truex, because he basically dominated the race today. A lap down is definitely Eric Almirola because he didn't get very far into the race today. Jess at Iowa NASCAR fans, Lucky Dog, high horsepower, low downforce. Truex dominated, and it was still a badass race with cars sliding around and losing control. Lap down the truck field. Done wadded up the whole damn field. Yes, they did. Rowdy at the Rowdy Dragons, a Lucky Dog. Pick Martin Truex Jr., showing everyone that if you add a third of a mile to a short track, he can still kill it. Lap down, Kurt Busch starting his Mother's Day barbecue a little early. All right, Eddie at Eddie_EG3's Lucky Dog. Sheldon Creed gets GMS in the win column after surviving the big one at Darlington. Lap down, Almirola, first one out after his misfortune with 47. Eric at DET Fan 324, Lucky Dog. Throwback week was fun, I guess. Lap down, Gregson failing post race and cup race, not that exciting. Kristen at K Hoglin 79. Let's see here. Lucky Dog goes to my guy Truex for 3 wins this season. Lap down to my fantasy picks for terrible finishes. That's all right. We're resetting after next week. Janet at Froggy 16. Lucky Dog Larson for making that 3 wide thread the needle work. I was screaming at the TV. And Mick at GoDucks 42_Mix. Lucky Dog Truex. He seemed to have them covered. Lap down, Keselowski started on the pole and went backwards from there. Yeah, so much attention elsewhere. That didn't get a lot of coverage, I say, Mick. All right, those are your tweeted responses. Let's get to your calls on the Wave Around Hotline.
Hi, Brandon. It's Matt at Camper News Net. Anyway, my lucky dog for this weekend, I got 2. First, Martin Truex Jr., absolutely dominant. My other lucky dog, it's race week. I'm really looking forward to Dover this upcoming weekend, and I'm really excited to be going down there on Sunday. Anyway, with that, of course, enjoy your week as always, Brandon, Lap Traffic Nation. I'll talk to you next weekend after the race at Dover.
Oh, Matt, thank you so much. Can't wait for your call next week. Sorry I had to cut that down there a little bit, but have a blast. Can't wait to your call next week after Dover, man.
Hey, Brandon, John Warrington at Racing_64. Hey, I heard some good news that I was week high this week, so that was great. Funny thing is I didn't even get to watch 2 of the races. I didn't see the truck race or the Xfinity race this week. I had since watched them, but my picks turned out well. I had John Hunter Nemechek on Friday night. I had AJ Allmendinger on Saturday and Martin Truex Jr. on Sunday, so that was pretty good for me. My picks for this coming week, it's the last week before the reset, so everybody's pretty down on picks, but I've got William Byron left, and the way he's been running lately, I think that's going to be a good solid pick for me. And in the Xfinity Series, I'm going to go with Justin Allgaier. That's my guy. He finally got the win, or he got his second win this week. Of course, the only 2 Xfinity races this year I didn't watch live are the 2 that he won, so I may just have to not watch the race again this Saturday, but he's got 2 wins in the past 2 or 3 years at Dover, so I think he's going to get another one. And there's my picks, Allgaier and William Byron. Thank you.
Oh, John, man, thanks for calling in. Sorry we weren't able to get the schedule there lined up to have you call in with your picks. Hopefully this isn't your last time with Week High, and we'll get to catch up during the fantasy segment at some point later on in the season. Okay, got one more for you guys. You know who it is. It's the voice of the Wave Around Hotline.
What's going on, Lucky Traffic Nation? Voice of the Wave Around Hotline calling in after Darlington. What a damn race. I don't care what anyone says. We need more of that. Cars are relying more on mechanical grip and driver skill than opposed to aero grip. Martin Truex stunk up the show in a sense and led well over half of the laps, but at the end of the day, drivers were driving the race cars. They weren't just kind of on a Sunday drive like we usually see blocking for the air, like we see with that nonsense that is the 550 package. So hopefully when this next-gen car comes out, it's way less reliant on aero grip and more on mechanical grip, and based on the bodies being symmetrical and less sideboards, we might actually get something like that. But we're also going to need a tire, and the tire combination at Darlington was perfect for the package. It was a great race from start to finish. Drivers getting loose, drivers hitting the wall. I got nothing else to say. It was just a great race, man. I mean, watching Larson try to run down Truex. Truex was I feel confident in saying that the fastest car won on Sunday, as opposed to what we've seen with Austin Dillon staying out at Texas and blocking the air and stealing a win at Texas, or Joey Logano blocking Kevin Harvick for 40 laps just because he's got clean air. I feel less cheated watching that race. Lucky dog has to be, I would say, Martin Truex. He is far and away the best driver, I would say, of the 2021 season, winning at 3 tracks that are important tracks come playoff time. I only drive with multiple wins, so I know his teammate Dennis might have the most points and seems to be the most consistent, but Truex has been races an old James Dennis Hamlin ain't. Lucky lap down, I should say, it's got to be Stewart Haas racing 2 wrecked cars on the backstretch, and one of those drivers, both of them are going to need wins, but old Almirola especially. So before I get cut off, I can't wait for Dover next weekend. That's one of the best tracks, certainly.
Oh, Mr. Andrew Cantian, thank you so much for calling in. Guys, appreciate it. Wrapping it a little short just because I know we're going long here, but thank you so much. Keep the calls coming. Keep the picks coming. Can't wait for next week after Dover because it's going to be the end of segment 1 in Lap Traffic Fantasy as well. And speaking of Lap Traffic Fantasy, let's close this thing out with some fantasy. Just a reminder, get your picks in by 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Thursday. Check the website if you need to see who you still have picked or available to pick. Keep the Twitter interaction up using hashtag #LapTrafficFantasy. This is it. This weekend at Dover, we are going to crown a segment 1 winner. Someone's going to get a trophy this weekend. Someone is going to lock themselves into the playoffs. And I'll tell you, the standings have knotted up at the top. Get to that here in just a second. But first, got to introduce our guest picker this week. It is Jeff at JBev1789. What's up, Jeff? How are you, man?
Hey, doing pretty good. How about you?
Oh, man, I'm awesome. I'm excited. I've not done so well in Lap Traffic Fantasy, so I hope I'm not jinxing myself, but I've been excited. How are you doing?
We're doing pretty good. We had I think I was in the top 4 there, had a rough couple weeks. Harrison Burton, he's on my list for not taking stage points and taking strategy instead. But,
right? Yeah, that's for sure.
He killed me, but we're catching back up. We're doing all right.
Excellent. What'd you think of Darlington this weekend?
Oh man, that was great racing. I'll tell you, I know some people, they didn't think the Cup race was great, but strategy and just watching a car dominate like that, I mean, that's part of the fun. You're not going to be side by side every race, and seeing Truex do what he did was, for me, it was everything,
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. I enjoyed it. You saw movement throughout the field, throughout the day. When strategy comes into play, when tire wear comes into play, that's what makes, in my opinion, for a good quality race, and we definitely got that. That's for sure.
I hear you. I think Larson Truex was playing Larson a little bit there. He thought he had him, but
yeah,
there was no way that was going to happen.
No, sir. Maybe 10 more laps, but not at the scheduled distance. That's for sure. Well, man, let's talk some points here and all that kind of stuff. I've had second week high like 4 times in the last 6 weeks and have not been able to get any bonus points, and I've missed it by just a hair. That was the case this week. I picked up 142 points this week with John Hunter, Harrison Burton, Denny Hamlin. You were right behind me with 129 with Rhodes, Burton, and Truex, so you picked up yourself a bonus point for picking the race winner. Lapped traffic fantasy players, if you have fallen off or if you think that you have a bad week and that you can't recoup from that, I am living proof that that is not the case, because about 9 weeks ago, I was 62nd. I am no longer 62nd. So if you have patience and you nickel and dime, there is the potential to make up a big points deficit. So with that said, our top 10 as they stand in first for the last 10 weeks himself with 1,104 points is Fred Leclerc. In second with 1,091 is John Entwistle. In third with 1,087 is Henry Fletcher. Ready for this? Drum roll, please. In fourth with 1,082 is yours truly, repping the Lap Traffic podcast. In fifth with 1081 is Jess Rose. In sixth with 1077, Michael Mason. In seventh with 1068 is Brad Carnes. In eighth with 1055, Michael from the Blind Spot podcast. In ninth, our guest picker tonight with 1,047, Jeff Bevan. And wrapping out the top 10 with 1040 is Pete Curvin. And then bonus points, Eddie Greer, Henry Fletcher, John Warrington, John Entwistle, Scott Wagner, Tony LeBay, all have 3. There's a bunch of 2s, bunch of 1s. Go get yourself some bonus points. Jeff, not bad. Top 10, which is going to help cumulative and making the playoffs, man.
Yeah, I think I fell back to like 21st or something there after those couple weeks, but like I said, we're making a comeback. I think someone's got to do a recount on that 4th place guy.
I'm telling you, man, that is, thankfully I post the picks before the race weekend, right? And, and I'm on air saying it. So, otherwise the MOATF podcast would definitely be giving me some crap. That's for sure. Well, man, what do you say? You ready? You ready to make some picks for this weekend?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Lap Traffic Nation, we are headed to Dover, and we are going to close out segment 1 of the Lap Traffic Fantasy League. Who do you have left in the bank? Do you have Kevin Harvick left? He's got a win in 5 top 5s in a row at the Monster Mile. Our only repeat winner this year, Martin Truex Jr., has 3 P2 finishes and a win in his last 4 starts at Dover. Kyle Larson, who I expect to be a top pick from everyone this week, has a win back in 2019. Fred Leclerc has been the leader for the last 8 weeks. The gap has closed. Only 20 points separate Fred in 1st and 5th place. Who dominates the concrete? Who wins segment 1 of Lap Traffic Fantasy and gets a spot in the playoffs? We'll find out this weekend. But first, it is time for our picks. Jeff, start with you in the Xfinity Series. Who do you got?
Man, nobody better than Justin Allgaier coming off a win. I think you got to go back, 5 years since the last time he wasn't in the top 10. So Justin Allgaier in Xfinity.
Solid strategy there. I am going with who I think will be a top pick, Austin Cindric, to rebound from the blunder of the last lap of Darlington. He'll be on a mission this weekend. So I'll go with Austin Cindric. Over to the Cup Series, sir. Who do you got?
It's coming. I've been holding on to this one, and I think it's going to happen. Denny Hamlin is going to get that win.
Solid pick. Used him last week. Thought it got me some points. I've got Blaney available. So I thought, I'm going to use Blaney. But when I looked at his finishes as of late at Dover, it's not that good. I got to play for the safe spot and keep the standings alive. So I'm going to go with Kyle Larson this week, thinking that he's going to thread the needle and maybe thread that car up on Miles the Monster here at some point this year. So I'm going to go with Kyle Larson.
It's a good pick. That high side at Dover's, it works now. So.
It does. So we'll see. All right, man. Well, listen, great to catch up with you. Thanks for calling in. Good luck this week, and maybe we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Take care. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, that is going to do it for episode 239 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. Make sure you follow on Twitter at Lap Traffic PC. Less than 75 to go in the giveaway. Huge thanks to Josh Berry, Michael Carey, Dan Ryan, Aaron Studwell, Jeff Bevan, all for calling in. Next week, got Jeff Striegel on Tuesday. Justin Albino will be back for a bonus show on Thursday. I'll be on the PETM podcast later tonight. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Make sure you tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya!